In a quiet town in Hawkins County, Tennessee, mornings often begin with the sound of birds and the laughter of children playing in the yard. Life moves slowly here, and for 5-year-old Summer Wells, it was a world of exploration, curiosity, and joy. Her father, Don Wells, is a man whose past has drawn attention, but in that ordinary home, on that ordinary morning, his focus and his heart was entirely on his daughter. Little did anyone know the peace of that day would be shattered forever. On June 15, 2021, Summer Wells disappeared. One moment, she was running across the yard, chasing her small dog, helping her mother and grandmother plant flowers. The next, she was gone. Minutes stretched into hours, and the joyful laughter that had filled the home gave way to fear and panic. Summer was lively, independent, and full of life. She often played in the basement, a place where she could be alone with her toys and imagination. That morning, it was there she vanished, leaving behind no trace, no clue, no sound, no sign of where she went. Her family searched desperately, calling her name, checking every room, every corner of the yard, and even nearby woods. The ordinary morning had turned into a nightmare. A small child, full of laughter and energy, had disappeared without a trace, leaving her family and community in shock. Authorities, neighbors, and volunteers immediately joined the search, but answers remained elusive. Every hour that passed deepened the mystery and heightened the fear that something terrible had occurred. And this is where you can make a difference. Summer Wells is still missing. Any tip, no matter how small, could help bring her home. Contact the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-TBI-FIND if you know anything about her disappearance. To help us continue sharing cases like Summer's and reach over 1,000 subscribers, make sure to subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and follow us. Your support helps bring attention to these stories and keeps hope alive for families like hers. As the realization that Summer Wells was missing set in, Rogersville transformed from a quiet town into a scene of frantic search and growing tension. Neighbors, friends, and volunteers arrived in waves, all united by one urgent goal: to find the little girl who had vanished without a trace. Authorities quickly organized search parties, with every detail scrutinized. Forests, fields, streams, and even the smallest trails were combed meticulously. Drones hovered overhead, helicopters scanned from the sky, and canine units traced every possible scent. Every passing moment increased the urgency. Every unanswered question deepened the fear. Amid this chaotic effort, all eyes began to focus on her father, Don Wells. Known in the public eye for a controversial past, including a 1993 conviction for first-degree sexual abuse and later arrests for DUI and firearms possession, Don's history became a point of intense media scrutiny. But beyond headlines and speculation, those who knew him described a man who was fiercely protective of his children, stubborn, and relentless in pursuit of his goals. On that fateful morning, everything he was and everything he had revolved around Summer. Don Wells immersed himself in the search. He walked the dense woods surrounding his home, calling Summer's name until his voice grew hoarse. He joined volunteers in combing fields, creeks, and roadside areas, never pausing despite exhaustion. He appeared in media interviews, pleading with the public for any information, speaking not as a man defending himself, but as a father desperate to bring his daughter home. The search itself was grueling. Investigators meticulously checked every door, window, and entry point in the Wells home. Forensic teams scanned for fingerprints, footprints, or any sign of a struggle. Surveillance cameras from surrounding homes and businesses were reviewed frame by frame, while authorities interviewed neighbors and local residents. Every lead was followed, every tip carefully verified, but frustratingly, nothing concrete emerged. Social media became both a tool and a challenge. Posts claiming sightings, videos of suspicious activity, and online theories poured in from all over the country. While some leads helped authorities pursue potential clues, many were unverified, creating noise in an already complex investigation. Meanwhile, the media dissected every aspect of the Wells family, highlighting Dawn's past, the family's dynamics, and any perceived inconsistencies in statements. The scrutiny was intense, and the public's opinions were sharply divided. Despite the pressure and criticism, Dawn Wells remained singularly focused. Every action reflected a father consumed by concern, someone unwilling to accept the possibility that his daughter might be lost forever. He coordinated with search teams, distributed flyers, and even helped organize night searches, knowing that time was critical. Those close to him emphasized that beneath the controversy, Dawn's love for Summer was unwavering and absolute. The community rallied alongside him. Volunteers set up supply stations, offered food and water to searchers, and organized nightly vigils, lighting candles and praying for Summer's safe return. Local law enforcement coordinated with state and federal agencies, ensuring every possible resource was applied to the search. Each day brought renewed hope and renewed heartbreak, as families and neighbors faced the painful reality that no one knew where Summer was or what had happened to her. And through it all, one truth remained undeniable. Summer Wells was missing. Every moment without answers intensified the suspense. Every tip held the potential to break the case. And every member of the community, from the closest relatives to strangers online, was invested in finding her. Dawn Wells, his heart and mind consumed by his daughter's disappearance, continued to lead the search with relentless determination, navigating both public scrutiny and the agony of uncertainty. Even as days turned into weeks, the search persisted. Authorities, volunteers, and the family refused to relent. Each passing hour increased the urgency. Every clue was examined with painstaking care, and the hope of finding Summer alive remained the driving force behind every search, every appeal, and every tireless effort. In the midst of fear, uncertainty, and scrutiny, the story of Summer Wells and her father became a haunting reminder of the fragility of safety, the depth of parental love, and the desperation of a community united by hope.
Just as the search for Summer Wells stretched into days and weeks, investigators faced the grim reality that the case was far more complex than anyone had imagined. With no signs of forced entry, no footprints leading away from the property, and no witnesses reporting suspicious activity at the critical moment, the disappearance became an intricate puzzle. Every detail mattered, and every lead had to be pursued with painstaking care. Authorities meticulously reconstructed the timeline. They interviewed neighbors, family members, and anyone who had been in the vicinity that morning. Surveillance footage from nearby homes and businesses was analyzed frame by frame. Search teams revisited areas previously cleared, sometimes discovering small inconsistencies or overlooked clues. Every step was documented, every possibility explored, yet the trail remained frustratingly cold. Theories began to emerge, each more unsettling than the last. Could Summer have wandered into the dense woods surrounding the property? Investigators quickly dismissed this, citing her young age and the difficult terrain. Could someone familiar to the family have taken her? Or was this the work of a stranger taking advantage of a brief opportunity? Each possibility carried its own fear, and each theory was examined carefully by law enforcement. Media attention intensified. National news outlets covered every development, while social media exploded with speculation. Hashtags like #FindSummerWells trended as countless users analyzed every piece of information available online. The public scrutinized her father, Dawn Wells, and the family dynamics, debating every statement, every action, and every detail from that morning. While some criticized him because of his past, others empathized with a father consumed by desperation, tirelessly joining search efforts and making public appeals. Investigators were cautious. They separated rumor from fact, verified each lead, and systematically ruled out unsubstantiated claims. They interviewed dozens of people who reported sightings, checked vehicles in the area, and consulted digital records for any anomalies. Each tip was followed thoroughly, yet every promising lead seemed to end in frustration. The community remained on edge. Parents held their children closer, neighbors watched the woods and streets more vigilantly, and volunteers continued canvassing neighborhoods and forests for any sign of summer. Vigils were held, candles were lit, and prayers whispered as the town collectively grappled with fear and uncertainty. Don Wells remained a central figure throughout all of this. Despite the scrutiny and the media attention, his focus never wavered. He joined searches, met with investigators, and appealed to the public with unwavering determination. Every step he took, every plea he made reflected the singular desire of a father desperate to find his daughter. Through it all, one fact remained undeniable. Summer Wells was missing. Every unanswered question, every dead-end lead, and every rumor fueled the tension. The investigation had grown into a complex and haunting mystery, one that gripped the community, the nation, and anyone who followed the story. The search for answers was far from over, and the haunting uncertainty left everyone involved, investigators, family, and the public, holding their breath, waiting for the breakthrough that could finally reveal the truth.
As the search for Summer Wells pressed on, investigators meticulously pieced together every detail from that morning. Summer had been playing near the home, venturing into her favorite basement area, but moments later, she had vanished. The investigators focused on reconstructing the timeline, noting each movement of Summer and everyone present. Authorities examined every angle. Windows and doors were checked for forced entry. Forensic teams scoured the property for fingerprints, footprints, or signs of struggle. Every tip from the public was followed, from suspicious vehicles in the area to unusual activity reported by neighbors. Surveillance footage from nearby businesses and homes was analyzed frame by frame in the hope that a single image could reveal a clue. Yet, despite these exhaustive efforts, no concrete evidence emerged. Amid this uncertainty, public attention focused once more on Don Wells. Known for his controversial past, Don's history, including prior convictions, was widely discussed, yet his behavior during the investigation spoke to a different side of him. Friends and volunteers described him as relentless, focused, and deeply protective, spending hours in the woods, coordinating search parties, and personally reviewing leads with authorities. Despite the criticism and scrutiny, Don's actions reflected the unwavering determination of a father unwilling to give up on his daughter. Through social media and online communities played a dual role. Many people offered genuine tips, sharing potential sightings or vehicles they had noticed near the Wells property. Others speculated wildly, questioning the family's dynamics and Don's past. Investigators were careful to separate verified leads from rumors, knowing that misinformation could derail the search. Key leads began to emerge. Reports of vehicles near the neighborhood that morning were cross-checked with registration records. Witnesses who had noticed unfamiliar individuals near the home were interviewed multiple times. Minor inconsistencies in accounts were carefully documented, but none yielded a breakthrough. Each lead required patience, persistence, and methodical verification. Through it all, Don Wells maintained his presence. Observers noted his calm under pressure, his focus on the task at hand, and his ability to coordinate with volunteers and law enforcement simultaneously. Despite media speculation about his past and public scrutiny, he remained committed to the search, visiting the property repeatedly, speaking to investigators, and continuing his public appeals for information. His actions revealed a father driven by love, desperation, and an unyielding commitment to finding his daughter. Yet, even as leads were investigated and tips followed, Summer Wells remained missing. The complexity of the case grew by the day. Every clue, every sighting, and every online tip could be the breakthrough that finally revealed the truth. And through it all, the figure of her father, tireless, determined, and unwavering, remained central, a human anchor in the midst of uncertainty, tragedy, and relentless investigation. As days turned into weeks, Summer Wells' disappearance dominated local, state, and national media. News outlets aired every detail repeatedly, dissecting the case with experts, reporters, and commentators speculating on what might have happened. Social media amplified this attention, with hashtags like #FindSummerWells spreading rapidly, sparking online discussions, debates, and, at times, controversy. The media scrutiny inevitably focused on her father, Don Wells. While some outlets highlighted his criminal history, others documented his tireless efforts during the search. Friends, neighbors, and volunteers described him as methodical, determined, and deeply devoted, someone who refused to rest while Summer remained missing. Every action, from coordinating search parties to making public appeals, was captured by cameras and shared across platforms, often subjected to judgment and speculation. Online communities fueled theories, analyzing everything from the Wells family's past to seemingly minor details from that morning. Was this the work of a stranger or someone familiar to the family? Could it have been an accident or something more sinister? Each theory added tension, leaving the public and investigators navigating a maze of speculation and partial information. Amid the media storm, the emotional toll on the family was immense. The uncertainty, fear, and grief were compounded by public scrutiny. Friends described moments when Don Wells appeared exhausted, yet resolute, moving from interviews to search parties without pause. He remained focused, composed, and protective, even under the relentless gaze of reporters and online critics. His behavior reflected the complex duality of a father under pressure, a man judged by his past, yet defined by his unwavering commitment to finding his daughter. The search continued tirelessly. Volunteers and law enforcement coordinated extensive ground sweeps, revisiting areas that had already been searched, hoping a missed clue might finally surface. Investigators analyzed every tip, verified every sighting, and cross-checked surveillance footage. Each day brought renewed hope, but also fresh anxiety, as the mystery remained unsolved. Public vigils and community gatherings became a daily reminder of the emotional weight the case carried. People lit candles, held signs, and prayed, all seeking to maintain hope in a situation where certainty was impossible. Through it all, Don Wells remained at the center, not just as a father desperate to find his child, but as a symbol of persistence and determination amidst fear and grief and overwhelming uncertainty. Even as theories multiplied, the emotional stakes grew higher. The case of Summer Wells was no longer just a local tragedy. It had become a story that gripped the nation, highlighting the fragility of safety, the intensity of parental love, and the complexity of a mystery that refused to yield its answers. And through every twist, every new lead, and every public debate, Don Wells' presence remained a constant reminder. A father's love can drive relentless action, even in the face of suspicion, grief, and overwhelming uncertainty. Investigators intensified every effort in the search for Summer Wells, leaving no possibility unexplored. Dense woods, creek beds, roadsides, and even less obvious areas near the Wells property were scoured repeatedly. Drones hovered overhead, scanning from above, while canine units moved with precision, following every scent they could detect. Forensic teams meticulously combed the terrain for any trace of evidence, analyzing soil, footprints, and other minute details that might lead to a breakthrough. New leads gradually emerged, each one sparking hope and urgency. Witnesses reported seeing unfamiliar vehicles near the Wells property on the morning of the disappearance. Investigators cross-referenced registrations, checked alibis, and interviewed each person multiple times, seeking accuracy in the chaos of conflicting accounts. Every piece of information, no matter how minor, was scrutinized for its potential significance. Don Wells' presence remained constant and unwavering, Observers and volunteers described him as focused, methodical, and unrelentingly determined. He coordinated teams of searchers, moved through dense forests with an almost tireless energy, and collaborated closely with law enforcement to ensure no clue, tip, or potential lead was overlooked. Public scrutiny regarding his past, his 1993 conviction, later arrests, and ongoing media commentary was intense, yet he remained singularly focused on his daughter's safety. Friends and those working alongside him noted a side of Don seldom visible to the public, a father driven by love, resilience, and absolute devotion, channeling despair into action rather than surrendering to it. The community continued to rally, inspired by Don's dedication. Flyers were distributed door to door, neighborhood watch programs increased vigilance, and volunteers searched tirelessly. Don personally oversaw aspects of the search, offering guidance, encouragement, and support to everyone involved. His presence became a symbol of hope and perseverance, even as online communities buzzed with speculation and rumors, some directed unfairly at him because of past mistakes. Investigators also analyzed digital leads, monitoring social media for potential sightings or tips. Every post, every online claim was treated with caution. Misinformation had to be filtered from credible information. Some leads hinted at possible activity near the Wells neighborhood or suggested unusual vehicles in the area, prompting swift responses from authorities. Each tip, verified or disproved, added to the tense urgency that dominated every search effort. Despite these developments, the mystery deepened. Summer Wells remained missing. Each lead, no matter how promising, required patience, diligence, and careful verification. Every day without resolution increased the anxiety, the tension, and the emotional weight on everyone involved. Don Wells navigated this pressure with remarkable composure, balancing grief, exhaustion, and public scrutiny with his unwavering determination to find his daughter. Even in the face of frustration, setbacks, and constant uncertainty, his resolve never wavered. His tireless actions, walking through woods, coordinating volunteers, speaking to investigators, and personally reviewing leads, revealed a man whose love for his child transcended fear, criticism, and exhaustion. Don Wells' dedication served as a powerful reminder that at the center of every tip, every lead, and every search was a father fighting relentlessly, driven by hope and unwilling to let his daughter be lost without a trace.
Months have passed, and Summer Wells remains missing. Investigators continue to navigate a labyrinth of leads, tips, and theories, searching dense woods, creek beds, roadsides, and surrounding neighborhoods. Drones hover above, canine units comb through terrain tirelessly, and forensic teams examine every trace for evidence that might provide answers. Don Wells remains at the center of every effort. Observers note his relentless dedication, methodical approach, and emotional resilience. He coordinates volunteers, guides search parties, and collaborates with law enforcement, ensuring no tip or potential sighting goes unexamined. Despite public scrutiny and his past, his focus never falters. Friends and neighbors describe him as a man driven by love, hope, and unwavering commitment, channeling fear and despair into purposeful action for his daughter. The media continues to amplify the case. Social media buzzes with theories, some suggesting accidental wandering, others implying abduction by a stranger, and still others dissecting the family dynamic. Investigators carefully separate speculation from verified facts, knowing that every tip could be crucial or misleading. Community support persists. Vigils, searches, and prayer gatherings continue, reinforcing collective hope. Don Wells' visible presence provides reassurance, a living symbol of a father's devotion amid uncertainty and fear. Volunteers often remark on his ability to remain composed and determined, even when progress seems impossible. Now, the questions extend beyond investigators and authorities. They extend to you. What do you think really happened to Summer Wells? Could there be clues overlooked by the public or experts? Do you believe that someone in her life might hold the key to solving this mystery? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share any insight or observation that could bring us closer to answers. Every lead, sighting, and investigation continues to renew the urgency of the search. Don Wells' tireless efforts,
Walking miles through difficult terrain, coordinating volunteers, and consulting investigators reflect not only a father's love, but a profound perseverance that refuses to accept defeat. His story reminds us that behind every headline, rumor, and speculation, there is a parent fighting relentlessly for their child. The case of Summer Wells remains unsolved, leaving a haunting uncertainty. Yet the unwavering devotion of her father stands as a testament to the human spirit, to the power of parental love, and to the enduring hope that answers may yet be found. If you want to help us bring attention to this ongoing mystery and support efforts to find Summer, subscribe to our channel and follow us. Let's work together to reach over 1,000 subscribers so we can continue investigating, sharing updates, and keeping the search alive. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your insight could be the key to the next breakthrough.